Here is the uncomfortable question that keeps circling back like a safety car. If The Simpsons were right once about Donald Trump, and he is now a two-time president as of 2025, what are we supposed to do with the rest of that old gag? The part where Lisa Simpson steps in after him to fix a country that looks spent, bitter, and stuck in place. People laughed at that episode for years. Then history nudged it into the spotlight. Now the laughter has an edge to it because once a prediction gets one big thing right, you start checking the rest of the checklist. Go back to March 2000 and the season 11 episode Bart to the Future. The show jumps ahead to 2030. Lisa is president, calm voice, tidy blazer, a brain that landed every quiz question in elementary school. Her predecessor is Donald Trump, and the federal books look like an empty piggy bank. The joke has always been the same. The kid who did her homework inherits a busted classroom. Fans remember the punchlines, but look again and you see a bleaker map underneath. Almost everyone on screen is a copy of someone you already know. Bart is older and aimless. Milhouse runs Treasury. Nelson owns a club where the crowd looks like Springfield retirees killing time. Alan Greenspan sits in a meeting like he never ages, 104 and still calling the cost of money. Mobutu Sese Seko somehow reappears on a leader panel, a surreal nod that politics can resurrect ghosts if nostalgia has enough pull. Civil rights feel brittle. Lisa is shown making a speech about desegregating rollerball, a ridiculous image on the surface that reads like a warning about energy wasted on symbols while structure rots. The technology is shiny yet sideways. There are hover buses, but they share routes with normal buses. Hologram messages exist, yet arrive by courier-like telegrams. News beams straight into brains by plastic gun, but it plays like old TV with a new hat. Bart's band sells tapes and half covers Jimmy Buffett. Fashion looks frozen. Culture feels like a museum gift shop. You can roll your eyes and say the writers did not map this deliberately. They were chasing a gag. Still, even a lazy map can show a coastline. The episode tosses a single line about Trump investing in children that creates a generation of super criminals who never sleep, then never develops it.
Remember when the last administration decided to invest in our nation's children? Big mistake.
The Balanced Breakfast program just created a generation of ultra-strong super criminals.
The city is full of people in their late 30s or older, plus a Maggie lookalike. Where did the young go? If they exist, what are they doing in the dark while the grown-ups argue about rollerball? The point in 2025 is not that every detail will come true. The point is that the vibe has already arrived. After a second Trump win, the national mood feels like a rerun. The calendar of American politics has turned into a year-round championship grind, primary to general to midterm to outrage cycle, with almost no off weekend to breathe. Screens never dim, narratives calcify, companies reinvent the bus with an app and call it disruption. Entire industries sell the comfort of the familiar and label it new. The country is older on average, which means more money and attention chase the taste of those who remember how things used to be. Novelty still exists, of course, but it fights uphill against an algorithm that pays best when it can guess the ending. That is the part where the Lisa prediction stops sounding cute and starts sounding like a personnel plan. The archetype here is not literally a cartoon. It is the tidy, credentialed manager who walks on stage with calm syntax and the promise of competence. It is a campaign that says the fever will break if everyone simply chooses reason. It is a White House that hires smart people, balances the spreadsheet, trims the deficit, and calls it reform, while the climate sends invoices and the housing market locks out a generation. The Simpsons gave that version of Lisa a tax hike and a credibility crisis, not because taxation is always wrong, but because a technical patch on a structural fracture does not change the load on the bridge. Voters in the episode do not feel rescued, they feel handled, and you can already see the resembles with his tariff model. You can call that unfair to the real people who run for office on the center left, yet the critique bites because it keeps meeting evidence. A good answer to the mess that any second Trump term will hand over would require admissions that are painful inside the country's mainstream. The wealth gap is not an accident. The energy system is not a glitch that can be toggled. The housing crisis is not a set of isolated zoning meetings. The information economy did not simply confuse people, it trained them. It rewarded the loudest simplifiers, then asked civic life to clean up after it. A good answer would change distribution, not just rhetoric. It would pick fights with monopolies that fund both parties. It would build public things at speed and scale. That is hard to sell to donors who like quiet waters. Trump campaigned on safe borders, peace in the world, yet none of that happened so far. What made Lisa charming as a child was not correctness, it was curiosity. Early Lisa cared about the answer because she cared about people. Later Lisa, the one the show started writing as a stand-in for its own writer's room, cared about being right because being right confirmed her place in the pecking order. That is the trap for any party that circles the wagons around its expertise brand. Voters are not grading your paper, they are asking whether you change the conditions that make their daily life heavy. When the answer is a tidy plan that moves chart lines in the right direction while rent goes up, you can win a news cycle and lose a decade. Double standards are part of the static that makes everyone cynical. Pop culture celebrates profanity when a lovable TV manager yells it in meme form. Then politics pretends language is the cardinal sin while ignoring policy that harms people. The result is not moral clarity, it is noise. The Simpsons underlined that by making Lisa scold Rollerball while the treasury is empty. The joke lands because it rings true. People do not want a lecture about tone while the house is on fire. They want water. The country will accept blunt messengers if the hose works. There is also the generational split the episode hinted at with that stray line about sleepless kids. In real 2025, the gap is obvious. Younger voters carry student debt into overpriced rentals and watch the climate set actual heat records. Older voters see order fraying and want assurances that the institutions they grew up with will hold. Everyone scrolls the same fight from a different angle. If the post-Trump opposition presents a leader who reads as the teacher's favorite, the young will roll their eyes and the old will half listen with folded arms. The only way to bridge that gap is to stop speaking in signals and start delivering in materials. Homes, wages, transit that arrives, hospitals that do not bankrupt you, schools that do not feel like debt traps, grids that do not collapse in a heat wave. The boring stuff that changes a week, not just a headline. So does the Lisa prediction come true in a literal sense? Almost certainly not. It comes true in the way a fable does, by sketching a character type that enters the stage at a specific moment, the cleanup act that promises competence after chaos. The risk is not that she arrives. The risk is that she arrives with a manual that preserves the system that created the chaos. If that happens, the country does not crash right away. It drifts. Culture drifts with it. You can feel that drift in the way every reboot tries to relight an old spark. You can hear it in the way innovation keeps rearranging the same furniture. You can see it in the way outrage treats policy as a subplot and spectacle as the main event. None of this means voters are doomed to a future written by a 25-year-old script. It means the warning light is on. If a two-time Trump era forces the next act to address real deficits and real climate math with real tools, then the Lisa archetype can evolve. Curiosity can beat smugness. Competence can include courage. A leader who talks like a grown-up and then rips out failing incentives will not feel like a cartoon. They will feel like a surprise. The opposite will feel like that club Nelson owns in the episode. The same crowd, the same songs, a night that never quite ends. That is the crossroads. The Simpsons did not hand out a blueprint. They handed out a pressure test. One prophecy already cleared it. The next one hangs on whether America wants repair that looks tidy or repair that hurts now and holds later. The first option keeps you pleasantly numb until the next crisis. The second asks for sweat, attention, and a contract with reality. The joke was always that Lisa could fix it. The truth in 2025 is that Lisa only fixes it if she stops trying to prove she is right and starts building things that prove they work. If that happens, the prediction stops being a meme and turns into a milestone. If it does not, the country will keep living in reruns and calling them premieres.